It's a force of nature that you can't control. Even our insurance policies talk about an act of God. We just got something from our insurance company here about flood insurance, because that's an act of God. So they don't cover that anymore. Okay? I don't think God's flooding us, so I don't care. But this kind of statement implies that we're still living in biblical times and God is sending locusts and plagues to punish us for something that we may or may not know we've done. Now, you all, I'm sure, heard about the hundreds of birds that they found dead in Arkansas. Thousands, okay. And in someplace in Europe, Sweden or somewhere. And then all those dead fish that they found. Well, right away, you know who stepped up to the plate. One group immediately said, God is punishing us. God is punishing us for being at war. God is punishing us for homosexuality. God is punishing us, and they have this huge list of all the things that God created that somehow human beings have decided are wrong. It's always amazing to me that we get to tell God what it did wrong in His creation of goodness. We know God is not punishing us by throwing birds out of the air. First of all, that's duality. Secondly, it's ridiculous. Because on the one hand, we are taught that God is love. And if we step into this whole idea of duality, of hell and birds falling and punishment and plagues, what we're saying is God is judgmental and punishing. Which one is it? You see, it can't be both. I grew up thinking it was both. Only one was called devil, and one was called God. Two equal powers. It's impossible. There must only be one power for goodness. Otherwise, chaos would replace all the harmony and the order in the universe. Do you get that? The stars couldn't stay in the sky if God was throwing birds. It would maybe throw stars as well. I mean, well, think about it. It would be chaos. It wouldn't work. There is one power. One. It is creative love. Creative love. And when we take a close look at God, this is your divine nature. When we take a close look at God, we begin to realize that God can only create what it knows. And what does it know? It knows harmony and love and abundance. And since it creates everything out of itself, because it is all there is, it created you out of itself. And so you must be what it is. So you are harmony and love and grace and abundance. All that good stuff you want, you're already it. You are the wholeness of life, because right at the center of your being is the essence of spirit. It is your divine nature. The movie we're showing later today is so fabulous. It's on healing and quantum physics, and it talks about your healing nature. It's a beautifully done documentary. And I hope you can all stay and watch it, because it's fabulous. Okay. Since God created us out of itself and out of what it knows, it then makes sense and follows that we do the same thing. We create from what we know. Our intuition tells us that God is the single creative force. And this force is harmony and order and love. Harmony and order and love. And so we have the ability, since we are created out of that, to create the same thing in our life. we can create harmony and order and love when we come from that center that knows the truth. When we focus our thoughts on goodness. When we forgive ourselves when we harmed someone. When we step into the abundance of the universe when we think there's lack. When we recognize that we're judging someone for a bumper sticker. We can step into the truth of who we are. You see, you are God's creation. And so all this goodness is who you are. Everything that God is right where you are. You are not all that God is. But all that God is right where you are. So why doesn't our life always reflect this? Sounds simple, right? Why don't we just live that way all the time? It's really not complicated. You see, we're creating and experiencing from our limited understanding of who and what we are instead of the truth of our being. God is limitless, but we have a limited understanding. We do the best we can, and every day we grow. But we see things based on our perceptions. Some of you know the story of a young couple who moved into a new neighborhood. And one morning while they were eating breakfast, the wife looked out the window and she saw her neighbor hanging out the wash. And she said to her husband, "That laundry's not very clean. She doesn't know how to wash correctly. Maybe somebody should get her a better laundry soap." Well, her husband, as with most husbands, understanding what to do, said nothing, just sat there. And every time this woman hung out her wash, the newlyweds had some comment about this poor woman not knowing how to do her laundry. Well, about a month later, she was surprised as she looked out the window to see this nice clean laundry hanging on the line. And she said to her husband, Look! She's learned how to wash her clothes. I wonder who helped her." And he looked at his wife and quietly said, "I got up early this morning and washed our windows." Life is the same way. It is the same way. What we see depends on the purity of our windows. Are we looking out at the world through the eyes of God, or are we looking out at the world based on our perceptions and the baggage we're carrying around from yesterday? What are we seeing with? It determines our experience. God is to us what we are to it. Our approach to life determines our experience. God can be described completely by two words. Love, well, three. I've got the and. Love and law. Love and law. We are created out of this perfect love and given the freedom to discover ourselves. This love that God is, that creates us, is so complete there's never any judgment from it on how we choose to live our life or how we respond to life. The discovery of ourself is propelled by this perfect law, governed and directed by thought. That's why our thoughts are so important. We can view life through clouded, dirty windows, or we can choose to live in a spiritual universe where we are conscious of a power that is in, through, and expresses as us and for us. God is always for us, because it is us. Simple, yeah? but not necessarily so easy, because we are spirit having a human experience. So we often have a human response. So what you need to know is, as wonderful as this is, there is no free ride. Everything has a price, and a life of freedom and ease is paid in spiritual and mental coin. If we want to be better, if we want to travel down the road of adventure and abundance and harmony, bliss, we have to do the work. So the question comes, how much do we value our freedom? How much are we willing to pay for a life of ease and beauty? And are we willing to put in the time to be conscious of the universe in which we live? Those are the questions to ask ourselves. Are we willing? And if we are, how do we begin? But we begin by becoming aware of all the wonders of the universe. We begin with gratitude for our ability to choose, to make our own decisions. We begin with gratitude for a willingness to look at God and our individuality in a new way. In a new way. Dr. Holmes, in his wisdom, set the stage for spiritual evolution. And today's scientists and spiritual leaders continue to expand on that understanding of how we affect the direction of our own life. And that leads us into next week's discussion, the way it works. In the meantime, remember that you were created out of love, and that God is not only for you, it is right where you are, and so it is.
So it is.